Improving your sales skills can benefit you regardless of your position or sector in the workplace. And you will love discovering ways you can get better from sales expert and elite level coach, Jacob Hicks, on this episode of Making Our World Better.
Welcome to the Making Our World Better podcast, where you will find motivation and encouragement through lively conversations with inspirational people who every day are making our world a better place. Now, here's your host, Jay Clark.
Welcome to the podcast. I am Jay Clark, and I am excited to have a conversation with Jacob Hicks, a coach and keynote speaker with over a decade of experience transforming lives and businesses. Thanks to 10 years in sales, Jacob has a knack for identifying what drives lasting success and delivering implementable strategies to help clients achieve it. Awesome. Jacob is known for his practical insights and engaging storytelling that leaves audiences inspired. Known for his strong follow-up systems and mindset-driven coaching, Jacob empowers clients across industries to overcome challenges, implement sustainable systems, and move forward with confidence. Embarking on his career in sales in 2014, Jacob has consistently achieved remarkable results across various industries. His track record includes surpassing goals, setting records, receiving rewards, and effectively leading teams. And I am sure his expertise can help anybody regardless of profit or nonprofit sector. Beyond his professional pursuits, Jacob embodies a commitment to continuous learning. And fun facts are he was a competitive ballroom dancer and is a self-taught piano player. Jacob, I can't wait to get into all of this. Thanks so much for joining me.
Well, Jay, thanks so much for having me. I've been really looking forward to this and excited to, get into all the nitty-gritty details.
I love it. So I'd love to just kind of start with give us a brief overview of your journey to get to where you are now as a speaker and an elite level corporate coach.
So you kind of hit it a little bit in the intro. I started in sales well over a decade ago. I was actually selling suits, did that in retail setting for a long time. And I realized, as a lot of people do, that retail isn't going to be my career for the long term. So I've tried a few different things, got into inside sales, did outside sales, where I traveled around the Midwest and most of the U.S. For a long time. But I realized, early on in my sales career, that what I really loved doing was I loved helping people navigate a difficult or a murky or maybe unfamiliar situation. I did that in suits. I did that in eyeglasses. I did that in real estate for a long time. And that's really kind of what I realized, that why I loved coaching. I liked figuring out what somebody was driving towards and helping them find their own strategies or morphing some of my strategies into kind of what they were trying to drive towards. Here recently, on my coaching practice, I guess I've been working with a lot of solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, help them to kind of establish their own sales systems and their sales goals and figure out just how to navigate selling. But I've also worked with some folks in the nonprofit world too. I sit on a board of directors too, and help those folks kind of drive towards, again, their financial goals, but also figure out how to cultivate and establish long-term relationships with either financial donors, but also folks that are willing to give their time as well.
Yeah. And, I always tell people that you should either grow up working in a restaurant or in retail because you learn how to deal with people, right?
Yes. And it's hard regardless of where you're at and where you're doing
it.
Right.
But it's just great training on how to deal with people. But as somebody who has achieved success in this arena, why do you think that sales is a skill that everybody should try to master?
Because the truth is that we're always selling. And people,
exactly.
Yeah, people think that I don't want to be a salesperson. And oftentimes, at least in my experience, when people say I don't want to be a salesperson, that means they're thinking that kind of the used car salesman, right? The person that's harassing you and bugging you and just calling you every single day, every single hour. That's not who you want to be. If you're a true sales professional, then in my opinion, you are serving. You are helping the person across the table from you and navigate that situation. And then also, if you're doing it ethically, which I think hopefully a lot of us are, then you are being willing to say hey, Jay, I love, this is absolutely fantastic, but I don't think that my services or my product are going to be the best service for you right now. And here's why. Maybe someday down the road it could be, but right now I don't think that you should be buying from me, and being willing to have that kind of a conversation as opposed to just trying to make a quick buck.
Right. Well, I love it. And because this kind of goes to it that translating sales into the world of, say, nonprofits,
Yeah.
it's not a big leap because
No.
you're selling your cause, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, and really, when the fun thing that, well, fun for me, I guess, I don't know if it's funny for anybody else, but the fun thing that I've found when we're talking about like selling in the nonprofit world is that we're
Mm-hmm.
still like the pillars that I argue drive a successful salesperson in the for-profit world, drive success in the non-for-profit world too.
Absolutely.
The sale just might be a little bit different, and it might be a little more story oriented, meaning that you have to be able to sell your story more than anything else. Because like as a salesman, I can come to somebody and say, hey, if you give me money, I'm going to give you this product, or I'm going to give you this service. In the non-for-profit
Mm-hmm.
world, you say, hey, if you give me money, then it's going to go towards these kids or this cause, or
Mm-hmm.
helping people read, or whatever the thing is. And you're not going to see a lot of very aggressive, tangible results in your inbox.
I love it. And, most nonprofit leaders are super passionate about their mission.
Yep.
And the fundraising piece is kind of a necessary evil.
Yes.
I'm guilty as charged of this being at different points in my career. So how would you coach somebody to kind of create a sales system when they don't really want to be a quote unquote salesperson?
So I'm going to use some sales jargon here a little bit. So Jay, cut me off and say like, hey, what are you talking about there?
No,
But
bring it on.
so in the sales world, we talk about funnels a lot. We talk about sales
Right.
funnels, and like it's just that it filters people down. It starts very broad and it filters people all the way down to hopefully the point where you are closing the deal, right? People
Yeah.
actually buying from you. And it's going to be very similar in the non-for-profit world too. Because you ultimately like you have to start at the very top. You have to have like a wide
Mm-hmm.
message. And this is where we're talking about marketing versus prospecting here a little bit.
Yep.
So in the marketing side, that's where you are consistently, hopefully you hear that word consistently here, consistently posting on like Facebook, for example,
Right.
or maybe you are consistently going on like podcasts, something like that. You have to get your message out. And then hopefully, again, people are, as they hear your story and they hear what you have to say, then they are saying like, hey, I really loved what that guy said. So I'm going to go on his website and we're going to actually engage with them a little bit more. And hopefully, again, if our website is set up well, then they are going to get into a point where we can prospect to them. Now, the difference between marketing and prospecting is really key here. And we don't talk about it all that often. So marketing is, again, where you're like posting on Facebook consistently, right? That's
Branding,
where you're like
all
sending
that.
out,
Yep.
sending out letters or like putting an ad like in the paper, something like that.
Right.
Now that's all well and good, but typically there's going to be a higher cost to marketing
Yep.
and there's going to be a lower return. It's just kind of how the numbers shake out.
Yep.
Now, prospecting is where you say like, hey, Jay, like you came to my website, you liked what I had to say about whatever, and you decided to sign up for like my email newsletter, something like that. Now that gives me permission to prospect to you, meaning that I can engage with you directly in a one-on-one or a one-to-many situation, and hopefully you'll get more engagement that way. So you have to be able to kind of do both. Now, when we're saying marketing,
Right.
that's going to be your top of funnel, where people start to
Right.
engage with you, start to see you for the first time, and the marketing piece is going to be kind of in the middle. Now, the thing that people often get scared of or just don't get all that comfortable with sometimes is there's a fortune is in the follow-up. We say that all the time in sales, and it's also true in the nonprofit world. So you have to be willing to follow up with people on a consistent basis. Now, the thing that you want to make sure you're hitting is when in the sales world, we want to make sure that we are following up from value, meaning that each time that I reach out to you, I am providing some sort of value. I'm answering some sort of question maybe you didn't even know you had, something like that. And it's the truth is also going to be the same in the nonprofit world.
Absolutely.
Where you're providing stats, you're providing figures, you're saying like, hey, here's what's going on. And again, hopefully that will engage with people. Now, on the backside of this is what we call a CRM.
Right.
It's very common in the sales world, and hopefully your listeners will be somewhat familiar with it in the nonprofit world too. There's a lot of nonprofit-driven CRMs or customer relationship managers. And you want to make sure you're driving people into that, so you are engaging with them over the long term. So you have as you have your events, and hopefully you can get people moved from, hey, I'm going to give $20 one time to maybe I'm giving $20 every single month, and start driving revenue that way too.
I love it. So, somebody who has kind of a love-hate relationship with cold calling.
Yep.
I'd love for you to share what you've learned to run towards rejection. I saw that on your marketing stuff, and I just thought that was fascinating. How you learned to run to rejection and turn it into success.
So, well, we kind of sort of mentioned it a little bit earlier with the sales funnel, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it is very much a fun, it's a filter, right? Like you want to get the people that don't make sense out and you want to
Right.
get the people that do make sense in, right? And the same is true of rejection. Now, a lot of the time, people, particularly if they're not super comfortable with the sales world, will see rejections like, oh, well, I talked to Jay. I thought we had a really good conversation. And ultimately, he said he didn't want to buy my stuff. Now, a lot of times, especially if we're newer in the sales world, we think, well, that means that Jay is rejecting me. He's rejecting Jacob. He doesn't like
Right.
Jacob for whatever reason. And most of the time, that is just not the case. So you have to kind of, this is going to be a
I was going to
mindset
say
shift,
total
right?
mindset shift.
Yeah, where you're saying like, okay, Jay didn't want to buy my stuff because it is not a fit for Jay right now. Because like there's stats out there that if you have one conversation with somebody and expect to close business with them, that will happen about 2% of the time.
2%.
2%.
Wow.
So now on the other hand, if you follow up consistently from value, as I mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
then you are more likely to close business. And it's to the tune of if you follow up 5 or more times, you're generally speaking, broad strokes here, you're generally speaking going to close 80% of your business.
So you go from 2 to 80% if you make 4 more touches or 5 more
Yep.
touches. Wow.
Exactly. So
Stunning. That
again,
is stunning.
driving towards those things, because most of the time, if somebody is really gung ho, like, hey, I'm not going to donate to your cause, I'm not going to participate in this event, that's probably good. That means I mean, let's say that person did show up, that person would probably be a problem. They probably wouldn't be super engaged. So why do you want them there anyway?
Right.
So like that kind of thing, but most of the time the answer is going to be not yet. So you want to make sure you're following up consistently. So like it's super common in the nonprofit world. I see it a lot where
Yep.
people will like they have like some big event, like maybe once a year, like that's kind of their big, campaign driver.
Mm-hmm.
And they send out like a not a newsletter, but like a mailer. Like,
Right.
hey, I'm going to
Invitation.
town or whatever. It's like, hey, this is what's going on. Thinking that that's going to do it once and like you're going to get a lot of conversion from that is just statistically, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to do those kind of things like 4, 5, 10-ish times
Right.
to really kind of drive people to your event. So again, follow up is going to be really, really key here if you're really trying to drive revenue or volunteers or allies or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, well, it's interesting in philanthropy and fundraising, we talk about moves management, and this is exactly what you're talking about, that moving a donor from a point to where they'll make a gift, closing a deal, so to speak. And these are all the things that you're an expert in: qualification, solicitation, and critically the follow-up, which is something, again, guilty as charged, have not been great at this over my career and have gotten better, but it's so important. So can you share some of the secrets? I mean, I know a lot of it's in the CRM, but what would you say really drives a successful follow-up system?
So the answer is kind of in the question there a little bit. It's going to be the system of it. So a lot of the times, like when I'm dealing with a newer entrepreneur or a newer nonprofit, they will have like an Excel spreadsheet of like, hey, here's all my potential donors, the people that said they would want to come to my event or whatever. And the truth is that that's not going to be sustainable over the long term, because you have to start with the end in mind, saying like, okay, I have this cause, this goal that I want to achieve. I want to help kids, pay for their schooling, or I want to help kids, get that backpack or whatever. And you have to like think like long term. Okay, in 5 years, what do I really want that to look like? And kind of work backwards from there and figuring out what those things are. Because if you don't do that, then your Excel spreadsheet, like I said, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to work for the long term. So you want to make sure you're doing things consistently, meaning that you have to kind of decide on your own what that looks like for you. Now, when we talk about like these new newsletters and those kind of things, which I feel like everybody and their dog has, right? Which are great.
Right.
You want to make sure you're doing it again consistently. So if you're thinking like, hey, I'm super gung ho, I'm really excited about my cause, that's great. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it every week. Every week of the year, I'm going to send out some newsletter or some update or whatever. That's great. But if at week 5 or week 10, you suddenly get crazy busy with your rest of your life, your kids, whatever's going on, and you fall off, then that's, again, going to kind of pull some trust away from you a little bit. So start sustainably. So do it maybe once a month or once every other week, and start building that consistency muscle and doing it consistently over the long term. I mean, I'm going to say consistently a bunch, I think, but doing it consistently is really, really, really key here, particularly when we're talking about following up. And the other piece of this too is that let's say you have your event and you have some people come in you don't know and you engage with them a little bit and it goes really, really well. And they give you some contact information. If you think those people are really what we in the sales world call A-level prospects, people that we really want to get involved in our sales funnel, then if you can personalize outreach to them, then that will go again a really long way.
Right.
So let's say you have like 5 or 10 high level potential donors, then reaching out to them personally and saying like, hey John, thanks so much for coming to the event. It meant a lot to have you come by. When we were talking about X, Y, and Z, that made me think about A, B, and C, and really, again, personalizing it to them will go a long way. And you can also, again, put them on your long-term drip campaign too.
I love it. And that's such a great term, develop the consistency muscle. I've written that down. But outside of, the consistency piece, are there other kind of common mistakes that you see people inadvertently make in this whole cycle?
So, I mean, if you're looking at your CRM, especially, hopefully, like what I always suggest to people is have some sort of automation piece to that, where if you're like, let's say, like I'm a big fan of time blocking, right? So I don't like doing things like every single day. I like to time block stuff out, get a big chunk of stuff done. So if you like, let's say you're gonna write a newsletter or weekly update every couple of weeks, and you could probably do at least a good chunk of that writing all at once. Obviously, there's going to be some like more detailed data-driven stuff that you're going to want to include in those things. Right. But if you write most of it out beforehand, then you can do it on the front end. But I said, really the consistency piece of where people fall off. They think like, oh, well, this person didn't respond to my third or fourth email, so they must not want the thing that I'm offering. That's just, again, it's just not the case. I mean, if you have any salespeople in your life, go and talk to them. If they've been doing it for longer than a month, we all have stories where we're like, hey, we met this person one time at whatever event, and we just kept following up with them. And then like a year later, or 2 years or 5 years later, they all of a sudden picked up the phone and said, hey, I want to buy stuff from you now. That's those stories are all over the place.
Right.
Yeah. Keep going is really kind of the real key to follow-up success.
All right. So everybody rewind about 30 seconds, listen to that part over. Keep going. Don't give up. But one of the other things I'd love your thoughts on is lead generation. I think it's one of the most overlooked parts of any successful organization. One of the issues that so many nonprofit leaders or leaders in general deal with is just an insane volume of things, right? It's meetings, it's emails, it's admin functions. So how can people turn off some of the noise and focus more on things like lead gen and things that matter?
So I'm a huge reader. I don't know if your audience likes to read much, but like one of my favorite books I read, oh gosh, just back in my retail days, so probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now, the 4 Disciplines of Execution. And they talk about like some of those things a lot in that particular book. One of my favorite strategies, like you have to, when I work with my clients, I always strongly suggest to them setting aside at least an hour a week to work on your business versus working in your business.
Right.
Meaning that like, what are the things that like, all right, hey, we set these goals to hit, X amount of dollars generated or X amount of, whatever's done. What are the actual things that are actually driving us towards those things? What are the activities that are actually doing it? Yeah, like it's super common just in the world in general. We confuse busyness with productivity, and those are not the same. Totally. We've just filled our calendar, and we aren't really getting anything done that's actually driving us towards our goals. So figuring out those things. Now, when it comes to like prospecting and lead generation, again, consistency is going to be the key. You can't just do it once and expect much to happen. You have to do it hopefully every day if you can. Now it doesn't have to be anything like super crazy intense. Like you don't have to like generate a list of everybody's phone number in your neighborhood and then cold call them if you're not comfortable with that. Like some people love that. If you're not, that's okay. But if you have to figure out some way to move them from like the top of funnel to middle of funnel. So like a super easy practice is, let's say you have like a Facebook page. It's super common, right? Have like your business page. And you are driving people towards that, and you're getting people to like it and follow it, engage with you online. Engage with them back. Meaning that if you have like 100 followers on your Facebook page, then message them directly and say, come up with some scripts and say, hey Jay, thanks so much for the follow. What made you decide to, to follow our page, or why did you like that particular post? Like that kind of stuff, just to get people more
Yeah.
involved in the conversation. Because a lot of the time people want to get involved, but they don't know how, and they
Yeah.
have to be invited. So
Yeah.
invite them to your event, or invite them, say, hey, we've got a new facility up and running. I'd love to have you come by for a tour. Like
I
that
love
kind of
it.
stuff will go a long way.
Such great advice. And I think, in some cases, have you seen where people almost lean more into the busyness part of it from an aversion of not wanting, to face that rejection or worry about the lead generation?
I mean, for sure. I mean, 100%. Like we're comfortable where we're in our comfort zone.
Right.
Right. Now, it was early on in my sales career that they were talking about your comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, like, if your comfort zone is like this, like there's a line kind of going through it and heading
Uh-huh.
up, right? And the truth is that we're going to get uncomfortable one way or the other. We're either
Right.
growing or we are regressing, and you kind of have to choose what you want to do. And like
Yeah.
the
Either
truth is,
side's
like,
going to be uncomfortable.
right,
Right.
right. So in my mind, if I'm going to be uncomfortable, I would rather at least be growing and hopefully getting more used to it. Like the mindset I would, like, if people are like, hey, I really like that Facebook idea, I want to start reaching out to some of my followers, something like that, and they're not super comfortable with it, I want you to shift your mind from like, oh my gosh, these people might get mad at me. Think of it more as an experiment. And the truth is that we cannot fail an experiment. We might have a hypothesis where we say, hey, I think if I reach out to this many people, then I'm going to get, maybe this amount of volume or this amount of, like, facility tours or engagement or whatever the case might be. We might have that hypothesis, and we might be dead wrong, but that just means that we need to run another experiment. We need to iterate and try something different. And if ultimately we're not really failing, we're just experimenting. We're trying something different.
Always learning and getting better and data. I love that. So, in your business, when you're talking to a leader, is there a point where you kind of realize that you could really help them and with their organization and where they are?
So, I mean, it all comes down to discovery and asking a lot of questions. So for those who may not know, discovery is like when you're having a conversation with somebody, and again, you're asking a whole bunch of questions to see if it makes sense to do business with them or not. So for me,
again, big part of this whole sales cycle, right?
Yes, exactly. Good. So for me, in my kind of niche is like, I really want to discover, how are they selling now? Do they know where their profitability is coming from? Meaning, like, there's the 80-20 rule is like, I don't know, it's kind of like a law of nature almost, really. Like it's the absolute truth.
Yep.
So figuring out where that 80% of your donors, or rather 20% of your donors are responsible for 80% of your funds. Where did those people come from? And if the answer is I don't know, then I would start figuring out some of those things. And that's the kind of the questions that I want to ask. So when I'm working with somebody, again, I want to see if I can provide quick and immediate value to their current processes. And a lot of times it's more of the soft skills, where it's hey, are you working in your business or on your business? Right. You have to have both, right?
Yep.
And then it's also establishing, okay, what does our CRM process look like? Okay, if I'm a new donor and I give you $20, then what happens?
Right.
And a lot of the times, the answer is, well, we take that $20 and we go spend it, right? That's good. But what happens to me as a donor, right? Do I get an automated email of some sort?
Mm-hmm.
Do I, get automatically put on the newsletter? Is there a more personalized follow-up process? I'm still a huge believer in the handwritten thank you note of some kind. That goes a really long way, I think. So establishing those kind of follow-up processes, again, goes a long ways to ultimately driving the business forward. So those are the kind of things I'm looking for when I'm working with somebody.
Yeah. And I love it, because if you establish those processes, guess what that leads to? Consistency, right?
Yes.
Boom. Yep. There you go. So as a certified elite level coach, can you share a success story that you're really proud of?
Yeah. So one of my favorite ones, I love working with entrepreneurs. I just think it's kind of an in between the nonprofit world, where they're really, really passionate because they're building their own thing, right? Right. And just the typical your business folks. So I was working with I was working with a gentleman actually last year who had just established his marketing firm. He wanted to build a marketing company, do his own thing, be a solopreneur, the whole deal, right? And I mean, it's essentially the same stuff that we've already been talking about. Like he and I worked through what I call like a 10 by 10. It's like a follow-up process for like how you meet somebody. Like when you meet somebody, what do you do with them after that? Right. Like it was just kind of talking about and establishing those kind of like long-term drip campaigns too. Like how do you follow up and how do you follow up effectively and how do you follow up consistently, that kind of stuff. And over the course of about 5-6 months working together, he went from, I mean, $0 in the bank to, I mean, $5,000 in recurring revenue. So, I mean,
Nice.
that's a really fun one to hang my hat on a little bit.
I love it. I love it. So I'd also love for you to talk about, what are some of the most valuable leadership principles or lessons learned as you've moved into this new arena that, well, it's not so new for you now, but what are some of the most important principles that you lean on now in your business?
I mean, I say the mindset shifts I think are really, really key. Sun Tzu, to kind of paraphrase him a little bit, I think he said it best, like you have to win first in your mind and then go to war. Meaning that if you're like, if you don't believe that you can go and do it, then you probably won't.
Probably won't.
Right. So you kind of just have to kind of, I don't know, fake it till you make it a little bit. Like you just gotta believe that you can go and do it and then go and do it and iterate and try again and again. Like I think experimentation, like I said, is really, really key. One of my favorite kind of time management strategies is what I call chaos time. Where like I like to time block a lot. Where like I say like from 9 to 10 I'm doing this, from 10 to 11 I'm doing this, that kind of a thing. But I've realized that, especially in my sales career, that there's always going to be like those 2 or 3 people that always have a fire that only I can put out, right? Like the house is burning down around them and I'm the only person with the water bucket. But I that's kind of their view set. But
I think everybody can relate.
Yeah. So I started establishing like from 2 to 2:30, I have what I call chaos time in my time blocks. And those are for like the unexpected fires that come up during the day. So that protects the rest of my day. So by the time Friday rolls around, I don't need a whole extra day, just catch back up on the other stuff I missed. And I really love doing that, especially early on in an entrepreneur's life, where we start to establish that chaos time. And then after a month or so of them doing that consistently, I have them what I call an audit, where for about a week or 2, they will actually write down everything that comes up in their chaos time so that they can start establishing, okay, are there any patterns? Like does like John Smith, call me every Tuesday with some new thing going on? Does Nancy down the, down the hallway, I always have some issue that I need to deal with too. So if you start to see those patterns, then you can sort of time block for them specifically. And if that ends up not, like they don't call you for whatever reason, they're on vacation or something, then you have an extra, half an hour, an hour in your day to do something else. So like that kind of stuff. And then like I said, I think I said it before, where you have to establish time to work on your business. You can't just spend all your time doing the busy work. You have to say, okay, I sent out like 100 emails to potential people I thought could be a good fit, and I got this kind of response. Is this still worth pursuing? And should I iterate and try something different? Like that kind of stuff, I think is really, really key over the long term.
I love it. And one of the messages in there that I love the most is to have the discipline to expect the unexpected, because it's going to happen. But you'll be ready for it if you're disciplined enough to be ready for whatever is going to come up. That's such a great message. So, as we wind down here and trying to respect your time, I go to my Fab Four. They're my final 4 questions. The first one, which should be really fun, is what is something you will read, listen to, or watch today?
Oh gosh. So I'm a big fan of sitcoms. So at some point I'll probably watch, I'm on a Frasier kick right now, some oldies but goodies. I like to listen to books a lot. It just makes my life a little bit easier while I'm always doing something else.
Right.
So I'm currently in the process of rereading The Challenger Sale, which I think is a really great sales book. And then I'll do I'm a big fan of Brandon Sanderson too. So I'll probably listen to some of his too.
Awesome. Can you talk about somebody who's been a role model in your professional life or in the work that you're doing today?
Yeah. So the honest truth is that I would not probably be sitting here in front of you today without a gal named Amy. She was my first manager when I first got into sales. she taught me really like how to sell. Like the funny thing is that before I got into sales, I was a really shy guy. Like I wouldn't go out of my way and talk to different people. And so she really got me out of my shell, taught me how to sell like systemically with systems and do it well with quality follow-up. So she really has had a big impact on me.
Love it. Mentorship is always huge.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an organization out there that you admire the work they're doing or, want to give a shout out to?
Well, and some selfishly, the organization that I'm a part of, on their board is Genesis Youth Foundation.
Awesome.
So they helped in Des Moines, Iowa. They help immigrant families and children, especially, kind of get established, help them to learn English, help them to with like the school stuff if they're struggling with soccer and stuff too. And we're actually in the process of moving into our very first building, which is absolutely it's super exciting. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on there too.
That's terrific. Lastly, maybe most importantly, what's the best way for people to find you? If they want to learn more, I know your website's got some great stuff on it. If they want to get with you to get some one-on-one coaching, what's the best way?
So the easiest way to get in touch with me is just through my website. It's just jacobhickscoach.com. I also have on there, I've got a tab called the Growth Hub, where I've got like some of the books that I mentioned are all on there. And I've also got some free tools and downloads and stuff for you too. If you're a social media folks, I'm big on Instagram. So feel free to follow me on there or shoot me a DM. So I'd love to connect on there too.
Awesome. We'll put all that in the show notes. Jacob, this has been awesome. I filled the notebook with notes. I can't wait to go back and listen to it again. But cheers and keep up the great work.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, and thanks to Jacob for sharing so much of his expertise that can benefit anybody. This episode was brought to you by JC Charity Services. Positivity is the competitive advantage, and as a John Gordon certified Power of Positive coach and trainer, I would love to work with you and your team to transform your mindset, your culture, and your leadership. You can find me at makingourworldbetter.com. To learn more about Jacob and to find him for coaching and great tips, visit jacobhickscoach.com. Check the show notes for links, and if you enjoyed this episode, we'd be grateful if you'd share it with a friend. Until next time, I hope you find a way to make our world better.